Hi there, everyone. This is Lauren Salter, your Unified Track and Field liaison. So I'm going to go through some of our 2020 Unified Track and Field coach updates for this year. So this webinar is primarily geared toward returning coaches. However, I do like to provide this to new coaches as well, just so they get exactly what returning coaches are getting. Everybody's on the exact same page, getting the exact same information. All right, a little bit about what we'll cover through this webinar. Like I mentioned, my name is Lauren Salter. I am your liaison for Unified Track and Field. So any questions that you have throughout the season, I'm the person that you need to come to. You'll begin seeing weekly emails from me as well. And you will have the opportunity to either text me or email me or call me. I've always told everybody I don't mind getting a text. Just please let me know who you are. We'll go over other staff liaisons just so you can get an idea of how the state is broken up with the many schools that we have. A little bit about what we call UCS or Unified Champion Schools, our resource guide, some general coach information we want to provide for you, due dates, timelines, a little bit about PIAA and Special Olympics Pennsylvania track championships, which is an awesome opportunity for everyone that is able to go. A little bit about track rosters, some event information, uniform updates and ordering, meet management, and then just what you need to do if you have questions following this. All right, so here are a list of all the different folks that we have liaisons for. So I'm not the only one, as you can see. I just want to be able to give you a broad spectrum of just how big this is. So Special Olympics is in over 120 schools across the state. We're in every athletic region that exists, which is awesome. So you can see Jennifer Tresp is in that Erie area. She is also the one that coordinates PIAA. So when we get to track championships towards the end of the year, whomever wins their particular region, that's who's getting that information, is Jen, and organizing it. Kelsey is in our South Central region. I cover York, Lancaster, Westmoreland, Beaver. I also cover Allegheny as well. Pete Shivak is up in the Wayne, Pike, Lackawanna, that Northeast Pennsylvania area. Mike Jordan covers Philadelphia. Amanda Breed and Jillian Stringfellow cover that area in Western Pennsylvania, north of Pittsburgh, that Lawrence Butler Mercer area, and Peggy Feldman does our Pittsburgh Public Schools. So just a little background on all those awesome folks. Unified Champion Schools. So UCS is made up of 3 different components, and one of them being the interscholastic unified sports that are offered across the state. So track is one of those components. Inclusive youth leadership and whole school engagement are the other 2. And those 2 things go hand in hand with your clubs. And if you currently don't have a club, I'll be working with you on that so we can get something going. So if you have an existing club, it doesn't have to be something that's called a unified club, but it is something that is inclusive. It has co-leadership. It's allowing for everyone that's in that club, with and without an intellectual disabilities, to have the equal opportunity to lead and have an opinion and way to change things. So we'll dive into some of our unified track and field requirements. So starting with our roster sizes. So roster size for unified track and field in the state of Pennsylvania has a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 40. And depending on what your numbers are, that also does affect the number of coaches that you're going to need. And we're going to get into that a little bit further into the presentation. But 12 is that minimum, 40 is that maximum, all right? And we'll also talk about proportionality as well. As far as eligibility, this is a co-ed program Boys and girls are just as welcome. They must be between 9th and 12th grade. And this does include some students that are receiving services from the school district up until the age of 21. Those folks are still eligible to participate. And those folks that are participating up to the age of 21 and receiving services are the folks that we are going to qualify as athletes on these teams. Just a very important note that I want you all to please pay attention to: students participating on a spring sports team, including track and field, are not eligible, no-go for the unified track and field team. Just please remember, PIAA is a partner with us, but Special Olympics Pennsylvania is the governing body of unified track and field. So most of the time, yes, we do go in line with PIAA. This is a difference, and it's a very important one. So we have heard, oh, well, PIAA lets us do this and be in multiple sports. This is a different thing. So Special Olympics Pennsylvania, as the governing body, does not allow for a spring sport athlete to participate on unified track and field. I want you to gather some folks that don't have the same exact opportunities. Proportionality, all right? So teams need to have a proportional number of what we call Special Olympics eligible students, those defined with having an intellectual disability, a developmental disability, and this includes autism or some type of cognitive delay, and our general education students. And we would love to have a 50-50 split, but we know that there has to be a little bit of flexibility in there. So we do allow for a 60-40. So you really are looking for that 40 and 40 in either direction. And then you've got that 20% overall that is kind of your catch-all folks. And remember that when you're talking to your students and your team, that the whole criteria and what we call partners and athletes is only on the back end for us to make sure that these teams are truly unified. These team members are all exactly that, just team members. So please don't call them out in practices or say, Johnny is an athlete and this is a partner and this is what that means. It really is, they're just all teammates. A little bit about practices and competitions. So we do have a requirement that you do have a minimum of 2 after-school practices a week, and we do require that you have at least 3 competitions during the season, and that does include the regional championship. So the 2 practice days after school, you absolutely can have more than that, and we highly encourage that. We only require 2, but that is up to you and your school to schedule, and the competitions themselves are what I work on with the athletic directors to schedule those. And sometimes schools will request more, and if I'm able to, I'll balance out the schedule to be able to provide more opportunities. So our season, it began on March 2nd, and practices and competitions will run through May 14th in some regions. So there is some variation depending on what folks needed to have for championship planning. Some championships are earlier, some are later, so that does affect the season length a little bit there. So we talked about team size, proportionality, and we're going to get into coach ratios here. Okay, so if you have a team from 12 to 24 members, you should have 2 coaches. If you have 25 to 35 coaches or team members, excuse me, 3 coaches is what we're looking for. If you have more than 35 on your team, we really want you to have, and you need to have 4 coaches. And that is proper supervision, just making sure that you're able to provide proper coaching to your team members. And there is a safety factor in there as well. All right, new rules. So for 2020, this is a big one, and it's going to throw some people for a loop. But all of our field events will be marked and measured in meters and centimeters this year. This is different. So we will not be doing feet and inches any longer. It's going to be in meters and centimeters. Just flip the tape, guys. So when you're like, oh, how do I do that? You just flip the tape. So when you are planning on your meets, make sure that you're telling those folks that are measuring how to do that. Show them how to turn over that tape, so we're not having to recalculate measurements at all. So a long jump attempt that's 15 feet is now going to be recorded at 4.57 meters. You will all be receiving, or you have received, a soft copy guide of our track resource guide. For new folks, you will be receiving, and anybody else that hasn't received it yet will be getting a hard copy version as well, because we had those updated for this year, and those are nice bound copies that you've received in the past. This is just a look at our dates and timelines for this upcoming year. So start practice March 2nd. That week, we will be having webinars on the 12th and 13th on the electronic score sheet. So that's just getting ready for that meet management aspect of it. So make sure you're tagging somebody to calculate those scores at your meets. On March 18th, this is a big deadline here. This is when your participant roster is due. So you will be receiving from me a very specific Google Doc link that will allow you to enter all the folks in there that you have on your teams. And you also need to start, if you haven't already, collecting those waiver forms and send those over to me. So that's page 2 and 3. That at the top of those pages says waiver for participation with Special Olympics. And that's what I need. March 20th is the last day to order uniforms to make sure they're there for competition. So you want to get your rosters done before that. So once I see your roster is done, that's when I'm really looking to make sure everybody has their links. So when you complete your roster, shoot me a note. Hey, submitted my roster. This is what I'm going to need for uniforms. And I will send you the link for you to order your uniforms. That way you're able to just order exactly what you want, but it keeps me in the loop. Remember, returning schools, you're only ordering what you need to supplement for what you have. So if you've got a couple kids that are different sizes, your team has grown, and you need some more uniforms, please do. Please order what you need, but don't order just to order if you don't need them. Remember, these are uniforms that should go from year to year. These aren't to give away every year as your seniors are graduating. Those are things that we are providing from Special Olympics to your teams, okay, in most cases. On March 23rd through April 10th, so this is the time trials. This is when you are entering in your times and distances in the Google Doc. So the Google Doc I'll send you has 2 tabs at the bottom. The original one is for your roster. So you're able to get your uniforms ordered. And the second one at the bottom there, you click on it and it allows you to submit your times and distances. This registers each athlete. And when I say athlete, it doesn't matter if it's athlete or partner, each team member to register themselves in the events they're going to be doing for that season. That doesn't change. So as soon as they compete in that first meet, that is what they're competing in for the rest of the season. So have those things locked in. We do carry over their best scores from meet to meet. And we want to make sure that we're not trying to change anything up. And that goes for our relays as well. So when you register folks into a particular relay, that is the relay team that they will be in or be a substitute for the entire season. Those don't change. And then you will see that we have our regular season and then we have championships. So depending on what region, there is going to be some flexibility. You will be receiving your schedules the week of March 9th. And I'm working on finalizing some regional championship locations at this time. Here's another big one that I want to talk about here, and this is in regards to PIAA state championships. So May 4th is when the letter of intent is due. You will receive a copy of this from me, and what I need from you all to do is to send this back to me, regardless if you're interested or not. The letter of intent declares your intent to or to not attend the state championships if you qualify. It just gives us a heads up of who is interested or not. And we'll get into exactly when those dates are here in a little bit. Thursday, May 14th, that is when all the paperwork is going to be due. So that is housing, that is your qualifying times, and I will work on the qualifying times and distances, but I'll need your housing list, your attendees, and your like meal preferences on that day. And I have a packet of information that goes to each regional champion that has all this information on it. So once somebody wins, they get that copy of packet of information to fill that out to have to me by that date. PIAA championships this year are May 22nd and 23rd. So this does fall over Memorial Day weekend. Please have those conversations with your folks, your teams now, to find out if you're going to be able to attend or not. And those championships are held at Shippensburg University, and we are scheduled directly in with the championship schedule. So all of the heats run men's, women's, unified. A little bit more about PIAA. So your roster is different for PIAA. All right, so this is different in a couple of instances because you have to go down to a 12-member team. So it's not individuals that qualify. It is an entire team. Whoever wins your regional championship attends states. If they're interested, turn in their LOI for me. So if you have a team of 30, you need to determine if you are going to end up having 12 team members, at least a 7-to-5 ratio in either direction there of attending states. So like I said, that's a conversation to have now. So you're going to know and to let them know what you're using for criteria to choose those students to go to that championship, whether it's availability or practices or seniority, whatever you want to do. I do not dictate that. That's up to you guys. But it does drop down to that 12-person team. Said that date is May 22nd through the 23rd over Memorial Day weekend. We do need you to ensure 12 members of the team and 3 coaches and chaperones are able to attend. So overall team rosters here, each member may compete in 1 track, 1 field, and 1 relay. And that is the maximum. And once you are registered, you cannot change events. We did talk about that a little bit earlier, but it's important enough to remind folks that that does not change. So if you register somebody for the 100, the shot put, and the 4x1, that is the 3 events that they are registered for the entire season. But please make sure that you're registering folks for events that they are appropriate for. So if they are not somebody that should be throwing a shot put just because they love the shot put, don't put them in a shot put and set them up for failure. Work with them to find a better event for them. Or if somebody cannot jump 1 meter in the running long jump, they can't make the pit, they should not be registered for the running long jump. Quick reminder of the events that we do offer in all of our meets. It is a 100, 400, and 800 meters in individual track events. The shot put, 6 pounds for all competitors, whether they're male or female. The running long jump and the mini jav, 400 grams. Does not matter male or female, it is one weight for everybody. Relays, so it is a 4x100 meter and a 4x400 meter. Every school can have 2 teams in each type of relay. A little bit of scoring as a result of divisions of 1. So this is a slight change as well. So this used to be a rule strictly for those in a division of 1 with motorized wheelchairs. Now it is for everyone or team in a division of 1. So scoring will be based on exceeding their qualifying time or distance. And on those score sheets, you all have seen the score sheets before, and that has a qualifying or previous time or distance that will be beside each individual's name. And if a competitor beats that time or distance, they will be awarded 5 points, comparable to a first place finish. If they do not beat that qualifying time or distance, they will be awarded 3 points, which is comparable to a second place finish. This does go for relays as well as individual events. A little bit of event clarification. So with relays, you are allowed to have 2 4x100 teams and 2 4x400 teams. Those teams consist of 2 athletes and 2 partners that can be in any order. You can have 1 alternate athlete, 1 alternate partner. They can be of any gender. It can be a completely co-ed team. It can be a completely male team. It can be a completely female team. Does not matter. As long as you have 2 athletes, 2 partners, and 1 alternate athlete, 1 alternate partner. These teams must remain the same for each competition. So if 2 athletes and 2 partners are not present when the team is there, then they cannot run. You have to have that ratio. You have to have the folks that you have registered. We have some really good how-to documents. So when you're getting ready to host your events, or even as you're preparing, these are really good docs to go ahead and look at. So these are pages that are in your how-to guide that have the diagrams, the setup directions, and how to measure. These are also available as print one-page documents, and these are what I put in each of my clipboards or with the packet of scoring information for those people that are scoring to have as a guide. Weather issues, this is very important. So if you are at practice and you hear thunder or lightning, please stop practice for at least 30 minutes. If at 25 minutes you hear more activity, then the count of that 30 minutes starts over. Don't rely on clear skies or lack of rainfall. Just please adhere to that guideline of 30 minutes. Prior to a meet, the homeschool AD has to make the call to postpone the meet. You guys are the most local to where meets are happening, so that home AD is the one that makes that judgment call. That home AD will contact the visiting schools ADs to postpone the meet and to reschedule. And once that meet is rescheduled, just to let me as your liaison know, so I'm able to make sure that you guys still have everything that you need on that next day. We also post all of our schedules online in a Google Calendar, so any community members are able to access that and come to your events. If you have some weather issues that pop up during a meet, the PIAA official is the one that makes that decision to call the meet and when to resume it. Uniforms. So we will be sending links out to our AmPro store once you have completed your rosters. And those rosters will be available to you very shortly, so you can get those back in. Like I said, as soon as you send that to me, you let me know what you're going to order, and you're able to go in and order exactly what you need for your team. If you're a brand new team, you order for as many folks as you have. If you're returning school, you're ordering to supplement what you have based upon your need. Bib numbers. So I will be sending you all a stack of bibs, and one bib will be issued to each athlete. And this number per athlete must remain the same all year. I will assign these bibs to these athletes as I send these bibs out to you. So when you receive your packet, you will also we'll receive a sheet of paper on top of that that says who gets exactly which bib number. That way you're not having to go back in there and tell me who is what number. It just makes it a little bit cleaner that way. On a little note here, so track and field rules do not prohibit the use of wearable technologies. So however, no competitor may receive electronically transmitted data from a coach or a third party. This will make somebody disqualified. So this is just a little bit about meet management. I'm not gonna dive like super deep into this. I do like to contact folks prior to, but just want to give you guys an overview of this. So when we run our events, every track meet is ran the exact same way. We run all of our individual track events first, all the field events, and then the relays. So we do 100, 400, 800, all of the field events simultaneously, since you can only be in one of those, and then the relays. So we do the 4x100 and then the 4x4. All field events must be run by division. I also would like all the track events to be run by division. Heat and division are simultaneously. With the field events, competitors receive 3 non-consecutive attempts. Means they don't go back to back to back. They take turns with all the people in the division. So if there are 2 people in a division, then those 2 people will go back and forth. And if the division behind them has 5, then they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not merging any of the divisions to try to get through a little bit faster. It makes it clear cut of who is competing against each other. So all Division I athletes, you'll see on here, it lays out what order that they go in there. Here's what you need to run your meets. And in your track resource guide, you have a cheat sheet, is what I like to call it, is a fillable document that lists all the different positions. At a minimum, you need 13 volunteers. You're going to need a tabulator that puts all the numbers in the score sheet. You're going to need at least 1 PIAA official. We do like to see 2 if we're able to have 2 there. And that person is going to be managing the start of all the races as well as the shot put to enforce the rules. Last but not least here, it's listed first, is the meet director. And this should not be you as a coach. This is the person that is training and organizing all the volunteers. It's working with the coaches, ensuring that the meet schedule and rules are followed. You as coaches are busy enough. It is not up to you to also run this meet. If you are a brand new school, I do my very best to be at your meets to assist with scoring and overall management of that. Going a little bit more into volunteers, you'll need the 2 scorers that will enter all the results there. An announcer, this can be a little bit of a double duty here. Your meet director can also be your announcer as well, however you want to shake that out. When you're going onto the track, your 6 timers at least, or however many lanes that you have, along with at least 1 backup timer. Some folks don't have 6 lanes, you're not going to need 6 timers. a recorder to write down, or a head timer to write down those scores. A couple of people staging participants, and this is important for coaches to kind of help out with this. I've been to meets where coaches kind of help manage this, or it's better if it's just one or two people. Then you have one person that's serving as a marshal, and this can be another PIAA official if you have them here, that ensures track safety. Right, looking at field events here. So if you're doing a shot put, generally you have 4 volunteers. You have a measurer, 2 measurers, 1 recorder that has the clipboard, and then somebody that is doing the shot. That's just rolling it back to the beginning. And you can really go down to 3 if you need to on this type of event. The shot put is where we do want the PIAA official to ensure the proper technique in fouls. Please, if I'm not at your meet, remind the PIAA official just how important it is that they call the shot put fouls as if they would any other varsity meet. If things aren't called properly in this type of event, it can result in injury, and we certainly don't want that. Long jump, again, is 4 volunteers. So we're doing 2 people doing the measures to mark and measure. The recorder and official can be 1 person, and then a pit raker. This is one of the ones that does definitely work better if you have 4 volunteers. Mini jav, so up to 5 volunteers here. So we've got 2 measurers, a recorder and official. So that is 1 person there, and 2 that are retrieving the jav. So it can be 2 people that are out in the field to just gather up those jabs, bring them to the line so we can make sure that there is a good rhythm there to get through it. Your relay rolls are going to be extremely similar to your individual track events, but you're going to have those timers based upon your lanes, a head recorder, a couple of stagers, and coaches can help with this as well, and 4 escorts to help the teams get to the proper positions for the 4x1. Since you're at the 4 different spots on the track, it does really help to have those 4 escort people. So please don't underestimate this. I know I have been at some meets where the PIAA official will actually just walk the track and set the people out. If you do have the number of volunteers to be able to direct them out, and those people know where those proper points are for that 4x1, then I would go ahead and use those 4 people. So this just goes a little bit deeper into the relay rules, making sure that people are that are escorting are putting them in exchange zones and officiate the proper baton exchanges. All right, so we have gone through everything that we have for this season. So big takeaways, our measuring is different. We're going to metric, so meters and centimeters. Our scoring has changed for individual divisions and does not just adhere to those that are using motorized wheelchairs. So those are the massive changes that we have this year. If you have any questions following your review of this webinar, please don't hesitate to give me a call or an email, and we can make sure that everything is just completely understood. Otherwise, I wish you all a happy, healthy, and fun track season and look forward to working with you all this year.